What is going on, guys? Chris Colgan here with an episode of Real Nova Network Alive. And I just got off the phone with a buyer who's house hunting in Ashburn. I had to hit them up about some wild news going on right in his backyard. Turns out the Space Shuttle Discovery, you know, the one over at the Air and Space Museum right here in Northern Virginia, was part of the big, beautiful build. They're going to be spending $85 million to move that awesome, space shuttle down to Texas. And then that's just a start. One Loudoun is actually going to be blowing up and doubling in size. And did you guys know the Disney company actually was going to start a theme park here in Northern Virginia, right in Haymarket, and all the crazy Northern Virginia data center growth? And that's just a little scary. So you're going to want to hear this. So definitely hit that subscribe button. Let's get into the news. All right. So if you follow me on Instagram at Chris Colgan Team, I'm always talking about breaking development news, real estate news, funny memes, and all of that. One of the stories that I've been watching since I've been doing that for the last year or two is One Loudoun is actually about to blow up and double in size. You know, the shopping spot in Ashburn right near Route 7. Yeah, they've got some big stuff happening over there. They started doing this back in around October of 2024, and I actually first broke this story about like 2 years ago when I first got into doing the Instagram and Nova development news. But they're adding 7 new buildings. That means more stores, townhouses, fancy apartments, offices, and even a business hotel. There's actually a lot that's going to be coming in over there. All right, so one thing that actually surprised me is they actually have stores already lined up. A lot of times when you get these developments or huge things coming in, we have no idea what's coming in, maybe an anchor store or something like this. But some of the stores that I've already committed are our house is taking up huge space. There's going to be a brand new pottery barn, and then a Tate bakery. The one that everyone talks about is going to be there as well. And then Bar Taco, and then Aloe Yoga, and then Van Leeuwen ice cream. I hope I said that wrong. I'm not a huge ice cream guy. You couldn't tell that by looking at me. This is like way bigger than your average shopping center. So if you're going to be buying or selling in Loudoun, or you're living in Loudoun, this is really going to affect your home price. It's just for a couple different reasons, right? You're going to have a lot more shopping, a lot more convenience over there. And I know they're trying to do a lot more over in the One Loudoun area and the Ashburn area with the metro system over there. But we've got big brands already committing there, and they believe a lot in this area and how much it's going to actually continue to grow. And it also means that home prices probably will go up. I mean, the average income in Ashburn is around $152,000, which I think is like the highest in the United States. And that tells you these companies didn't just pick a random place. They know what they're doing. I think the goal is for One Loudoun, I'm pretty much talked about this before, they want to take on Reston Town Center. And you know, so much is going on over there at Reston Town Center with all the new expansion there as well. Now, one of the things they're going to be doing at this One Loudoun spot is they're actually going to have an ice skating rink, just like they have over in Reston Town Center and in Old Town Manassas. So during the winter, it will be an ice skating rink, and then during the summer, it will be converted into a spot to hold concerts and events and kind of like a venue as well. So this development is going to make things a lot more expensive in the One Loudoun area. I think it's going to happen is this could continually be pretty expensive, right? Because I mean, some of these townhomes over there are like $1.4 million. They're also putting in 400 luxury apartments. And I feel like anytime we get any type of apartments around here in Northern Virginia, they always say the word luxury. The one bad thing is Route 7. I feel like the traffic is going to be getting a lot worse. But probably my favorite thing over there at One Loudoun is at Alamo Draft House. We actually had a party over there, like a client party where we invited everyone's kids, and we did a premiere of Snow White when that came out. That was like the only kid movie at the time. But that's a really cool movie theater. They bring back like a lot of old movies, and they like one day I was there and they brought Back to the Future, and they had a DeLorean and actors dressed up like Marty McFly and Doc. And that's a really cool area, cool place to go hang out with your kids. You've also got the iFly and of course the Top Golf. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you think this is going to be huge for Loudoun County? Do you actually go out and check out One Loudoun? The only thing I'll complain about with One Loudoun is the parking can be pretty brutal. Now, this next story here really is out of this world. Like literally, I know that's kind of a bad pun, but you would not believe what's happening with Space Shuttle Discovery. But first, listen, if this local market info is helping you out and you want to stay ahead of everything happening in Northern Virginia, they can back your home value, definitely hit that subscribe button to the Real Nova Network. This is our media company. We just launched a new website, realnovanetwork.com. Definitely check that out. We're putting all kinds of breaking news stories, and of course, follow my Instagram at Chris Colgan Team, and you're gonna be getting the inside scoop before anyone else. From One Loudoun County's big expansion to the data center boom, I've definitely got you covered. I'm also gonna link below in the comments how to join my newsletter. We have 11,000 people here in Northern Virginia that follow my newsletter that comes out every week. All right, so this one is just crazy. There's a thing called the Big Beautiful Bill. I'm sure you heard about it because we live in the DC area and everybody talks about politics. And it was set aside $85 million for Space Shuttle Discovery to be moved from the Air and Space Museum in Chantilly all the way down to Houston. There's actually been some estimates that it could cost upwards of $400 million of US taxpayers' money just to move that space shuttle, which is like absolutely insane. Now, here's the thing though. The Smithsonian is not going out without a fight. They're saying that's actually their property, and when it was moved there, it was gifted to a part of their collection. It's not part of US government property, and the US government has no right over the space shuttle. So they're saying you're not taking it anywhere. They're like, I literally said, Texas, come get it from us. It's not moving. So the thing is, they're not really wrong, because the discovery's been sitting in the Uday Hazy, did I even say that wrong? I forget it. I'm not even going to try to, because I've been to the Air and Space Museum a million times, but I'm not even going to try to say the name. Since 2012, it's been sitting there, and people can see it for free. So it's been there, and like my wife's family came from Bolivia, and then she had some more family that came from France, and that was one of the first attractions they wanted to see here in Northern Virginia in the DC area. They wanted to see that space shuttle. The thing is that this is really controversial, because do taxpayers really want to fit the bill to put that thing on top of a Boeing 737 and fly it down to Houston, which they said they don't even think it could even handle the flight there to Texas. And on top of that, if it goes to Texas, the Smithsonian is free. They're thinking that it's going to cost anywhere from $30 to $50 just to buy a ticket to be able to go and see the thing. Right now in Virginia, it's completely free. Now, as someone who works in real estate, I'm thinking about what this means for Northern Virginia and, of course, the Air and Space Museum, because it brings a lot of people over. I mean, you got to imagine thousands upon thousands of people are just going there every day, and it really helps a lot of the local restaurants, shops. And if Discovery leaves, that could really hurt the local economy over in Chantilly, and that could mess with home prices just a little bit. Now, Dallas is doing some major expansions, but that really is a huge tourist attraction to have the space shuttle, and it brings some people out from DC all the way out to Chantilly as well. And moving that shuttle, like I said, is not easy. That plane, they said, is like kind of been taken apart a little bit. And the guy from the Smithsonian was saying it probably wouldn't even make the flight to Texas, and you would have to take it apart in different sections. And that he said that's going to cost around $300 million more than what they're estimating. So now we're talking about $300 million plus $85 million just to move it. So $400 million to move the space shuttle is absolutely insane. And it sounds like a lot of the politics got in the way there, and I'm really surprised that they actually put that in the bill. But what do you guys think? I mean, comment below. This has got to be one of the more crazier stories that I've heard in a long time. All right, so this next story, guys, I have some ties to this. So my grandfather, Senator Colgan, was a senator here for around like 40 some years. He was actually #1 in seniority in Prince William County, and I grew up here in Haymarket. Well, a lot of people don't know this, but in the mid-90s, Michael Eisner ran the Walt Disney Company, and they decided out of nowhere, they actually had called my grandfather. He was the first call they actually made, and he was for the deal actually happening, and they wanted to build a theme park in Haymarket called Disney's America, and it would have changed everything. Now, there was some big, huge backlash, and a lot of it came from people that lined up next to the Manassas battlefield. Now, the funny thing is, those exact same homeowners, they still own the property, and now they're selling to data centers, go figure, right? And then a lot of it came from people all the way out in Middleburg, and of course, you know, the Disney company, they're not gonna like getting backlash. So this park, though, was kind of funny. When you look at it now, it probably was a good idea that it did not happen in this day and age, because it was all about American history. There's going to be 9 different themed areas, from everything from Native American life to the Civil War to World War II. They were even planning hotels, golf courses, you know, the full Disney setup, and even a movie studio. But I'm trying to think, I don't know how you make the Civil War and Native American, you know, history, what happened with Native Americans and not the Civil War, a fun thing to do. I mean, Native American history is obviously amazing, but I don't know how you have a Civil War roller coaster. So I don't know how well that would have gone. And it got really messy because a bunch of historians were upset. And like I said, they didn't like the idea of making Civil War history fun, and they thought it would ruin the Manassas battlefield. And then of course, environmental groups got in and they said there was going to be huge traffic coming to our area. Go figure, Northern Virginia. One of the funny things was, like, they were going to pay for 66 to get extended, and then some of the roads were going to get extended all the way from Haymarket out towards Leesburg. So Disney was footing the bill for some of this. I mean, you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars in the 90s. So I think it would have helped our area. I think some of the backlash also came to, did you really want to be driving through Northern Virginia and seeing a lot of the t-shirt shops and all those other things? But here's the funny thing about the whole thing, right? It ends up being that the people that bought that land off of Disney were Toll Brothers, and that's where Dominion Valley is. So we ended up getting the growth anyway, which I think Dominion Valley's got to be 3,000 or 4,000 homes or something like that. So can you guys believe that Haymarket even almost had like its own Space Mountain, its own Disney park? From a real estate angle, this would have been really interesting if Disney would have built that park. I remember we grew up in Lawnville Estates here in Gainesville, and I remember my dad and mom were like being told, hey, you know, we lived on a couple acres, and they were like, your property is going to be shooting up in value because you're going to be able to see the fireworks every night from Disney, you know, going off. And then in the winter, obviously the park probably wouldn't have been open, but guess what? It would have had a movie studio working, a television studio. It would have had a history museum. So all kinds of different things. And it was part of the reason that Disney wanted to do it. It was just 35 miles from Washington, DC. But honestly, do you think the community that fought back, I feel like more people at the time wanted it that didn't want it? Do you think they did a good job? Do you think we're better off not having that and having Dominion Valley and of course data centers that eventually followed? I'd love to know what you guys think. I mean, do you think we were looking back now, are we better off not getting Disney, or are we better off actually having it? Of course, our area would have been totally different than it is now, but a really interesting piece of history. And I remember my grandfather, he even went to the Lion King premiere in DC, so he was really involved with this project. We have some really cool pictures of him with different people at Disney and things like that. But I had kind of brought up that old story on my Instagram, and I did a blog post about it, and I'll link below, but a lot of people didn't even know about that. So just some random Northern Virginia history. But again, looking back on it now, I don't know how good of an idea it would have been to show slavery and the Civil War at a fun theme park. Now, one thing I'm following, right, is I feel like there's a lot to do here in Northern Virginia. And speaking of expensive, you know, you can go down, Disney is certainly expensive, right? But if you want something a little more affordable to do with your family or by yourself, and you want some summer activities, of course, it's been raining like almost every day this summer. That's not going to be expensive and somewhat almost even free. You got to check out some of these things that I put together. So I put together a list of my favorite festivals coming in the month of August here in Northern Virginia. So the Prince William County Fair, which is one of my favorite things to do, it's actually the biggest county fair in all of Virginia. That starts August 8th through the 16th. That thing is huge. They get over 100,000 guests a year to that fair. And guys, like, you will not believe this. They have things like rodeos, demolition derby, roller coasters, Ferris wheel, all the crazy fair food that you can imagine, and it's conveniently located right off of 234 bypass by the Manassas airport. They actually hit me up and said, hey, could you help us promote this? And I said, of course. It's one of my favorite events. So that thing is really cool. It's really fun. They've got all kinds of different contests going on. I would definitely take your family over there for sure. The Arlington County Fair goes from August 13th to the 17th. Here's the best part. That one is totally free. It's one of the biggest free events in all of the East Coast. So if you've got kids, you definitely don't want to miss that one. Now, One Loudoun, the place that we're talking about earlier, is also hosting a carnival from August 6th to the 17th. While they're building all those fancy stores, they're bringing back that summer classic carnival feel. And then here's another highlight that you want to check out. Alexandria has a restaurant week running from August 22nd to the 31st. If you love food, this is your moment. Dozens of restaurants offer fixed price menus and deals, and it's a great way to try new places without spending too much. I mean, you go out to eat now, right? It's like $80 just for, I don't even know, like Ruby Tuesdays. It's getting pretty insane. I would definitely check out also Nova Live. They have a new restaurant called Proof Bar that I really enjoyed. That place is really good, really packed though. From a real estate point of view, these festivals really matter. They show community spirit, quality of life, and pride, all the things that make neighborhoods great. While I'm helping buyers, especially families moving from other states, they are always excited to see how the community around here shows different things going on. Like, lifestyle really matters. And it was funny, there's a video that went viral the other day on TikTok, and this girl was talking about how she moved from California to Northern Virginia, and she said she couldn't believe A, how expensive it was, and B, there's always something to do. She said she thought California was busy, but she was like, man, Northern Virginia's always got a lot to do. And I feel like these fairs, events like this, that we haven't gotten rid of these, actually make Northern Virginia special. I mean, sure, the traffic does suck, and we've got a lot of things going on with the government right now, but you know what? At the end of the day, this is a really good community. So I'm gonna keep drinking that Northern Virginia Kool-Aid. Now, one of the downsides, no matter who you talk to, or depending on who you talk to, is going to be the data center. So we gotta talk about a huge Northern Virginia data center milestone. So speaking of summer heat, things are literally heating up here in Northern Virginia. Let's talk about the data center boom that is on fire right now. And I do not see any chance of this slowing down, especially with the AI revolution that we're seeing right now. This one is pretty wild. Northern Virginia just hit over 4,900 megawatts of data center capacity, and we're still way ahead as the world's biggest data center market in the world. So we're 4,900 megawatts, and we're like 10x the biggest data center market in all of the United States. So to put it in simple terms, 4,900 megawatts is about 50 million square feet. The whole office space in Northern Virginia is around 140 million square feet. So data centers take up more than a third of that. Here's the crazy part. We're about to get another 1,100 megawatts being built right now, and that's almost like 5,500 megawatts planned for the future. More than 90% of that space is already booked through 2028, with a vacancy rate of data centers than less than 1%. Now, here's the thing that's crazy for home buyers and home owners. Land prices have gone nuts. In Loudoun County, prices have soared up 45% in just 1 year for land. In Prince William County, it's up 38% for land. And near Leesburg, land good for development has more than doubled in price. So what does this mean for regular folks like you and me? If you own land where data centers want to build, you're going to be rich. Now, I do get a lot of people that call me and say, hey, I have 3 acres on the side of the mountain and I want to sell it to a data center. I tell a lot of them, you probably would have already heard from some of them because they've bought up so much land. But I want to say, like, I don't even know what the stat is, but the amount of electricity that these things are taking up is something like 4 or 5 million homes worth of electricity. I don't even know how they power all these things. You've got me, but I will say the good thing is a lot of people that I know have gotten jobs from these, especially people that were struggling. So they do provide some good, stable jobs. But look, if you're trying to buy in Loudoun or Prince William, you're competing against some of these big developers that have unlimited money. Like, there's a lawsuit going on right now here in Gainesville for the world's largest data center. That's actually owned by BlackRock. That's like a multi-trillion-dollar hedge fund. So I'm sure they've got some pretty good lawyers and some deep pockets. And a lot of these data centers need a ton of power, and expanding power lines is turning into a huge political debate. People don't want giant power lines as they drive down the street, right? I mean, you've seen some of them that are coming up. I mean, some of them are huge. So here's my take. It's like we're in the California gold rush with San Francisco. Now we're in the Northern Virginia land gold rush for data centers, and it comes with its good and bad, right? You've got the job market. It does take up less space for housing and less space for schools, so that does mean we bring in less people to the community, which helps out our resources, but it has made land prices go way up there. And of course, there's just not much new construction, so it does make a limited inventory. Great for homeowners because, right, there's not much inventory of houses for sale, but bad for like young people who want to buy a house in Northern Virginia. Like, I'm working with a couple right now who just got married, and they're looking in Burke and Springfield, and you're talking at least $1 million to get anything in there. So really, the home prices here have gotten out of control, and I don't know if that's going to stop anytime soon. But you know what? The data centers are not going anywhere, and that's for sure. So all of this is pretty wild stuff. One Loudoun getting fancy, a space shuttle flight costing us $85 million, Disney's theme park that never happened, summer festivals to keep you busy, and data centers are changing the landscape here in Northern Virginia. What do you guys think about all this? Are these data centers good or bad for the area? Definitely comment below. Should we fight to keep discovery here? I think we should. And then drop a comment, because I really read all of them. I always try to comment back when I can. Do you guys want the space shuttle to stay here in Northern Virginia? I, for one, will go chain myself to that front tire of that space shuttle if I have to. Now, I'm kind of a weak person, so don't expect me to sit there for days, but I could do it for a couple hours at least. And if you're thinking about buying or selling a home anywhere here in Northern Virginia, definitely hit me up. Everywhere I go, people come up to me and they're like, dude, I love your YouTube channel. I love your Instagram. And I'm always like, hey, if you want to buy or sell a house, definitely let me know. We put out this content like this to help our real estate business. And you know what? To get the word out to the community about what's going on. So guys, I'll see you at the top or from the top, and we'll see you next week with another episode.